Okay, let's start with the big question. What if the solution to our biggest global problems isn't some brand new invention, but a way to finally connect all the incredible, powerful systems we've already spent centuries building? Well, today we're going to dive into a really ambitious new architecture called ZYRO Hive, which aims to do exactly that.
To really get what ZYRO Hive is trying to do, we first have to understand the problem it's designed to solve. And honestly, the best way to picture it is through this powerful metaphor, thinking of our world as a giant, unfinished tapestry.
So just imagine this for a second. What if our modern world, with all its amazing technologies and organizations, is like a grand masterpiece that was started ages ago, but for some reason, it was just never completed? You see, for centuries, we've gotten really good at creating these expert stewards for each individual thread of our society. We've got energy utilities managing electrons, water utilities managing watersheds, telecoms managing our connections, even community groups managing our sense of belonging. Each one is an absolute master of its own thread. But here's the kicker, the real problem. While all these stewards are amazing at managing their own threads, those threads have never been properly woven together. They all operate in their own silos, And because of that, they just can't tackle the massive, interconnected challenges like climate change, because that requires all those threads to work in harmony. The tapestry is still incomplete.
All right, so if our world is this beautiful but unfinished tapestry, how in the world do we finally weave it all together? Well, this brings us to the proposed solution, the architecture of ZYRO Hive. ZYRO Hive is called a completion architecture, and this is the most crucial part. It is not a replacement for what we have. It's a framework, a kind of operating system that allows all those specialized stewards to finally connect and collaborate. So an energy utility stays an energy utility. They just get this new ability to complete their work with everyone else.
I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it just nails the concept. ZYRO Hive isn't trying to come in and replace anyone with some flashy new tech. Nope. Instead, it's providing the underlying mechanism, the loom, that lets the existing weavers, the stewards we already know and trust, finally create the complete pattern together.
So how does this loom actually work? Well, it needs weavers, right? The ZYRO Hive architecture runs on three essential roles that, together, create what's called a completion economy.
First up is the anchor utility. Now just think of a major power company or a large water utility in your region. This is an established, trusted organization that already manages critical infrastructure. They provide the foundation, the grounding point for this whole new collaborative effort. So you might be wondering, why would a huge utility do this? Well, the benefits are pretty massive. First off, they keep their identity. They get to stay who they are. But now, money they're already spending on compliance can be used to generate brand new value. They get equity in the new collaboration, they get dividends, and they get a real say in how the whole system is governed. Okay, the second role, the community steward, is fascinating. It recognizes that real-world solutions need a lot more than just money and technology. This steward brings invaluable local knowledge to the table, deep ecological intelligence, cultural wisdom, just lived experience, and they're treated as a true partner, contributing an essential pattern to the solution. And this is absolutely crucial. Their contribution is formally valued. Communities actually get paid for their knowledge. They get to help design the rules of the game. And their way of life is secured because they are woven into this new economy by design, not just as some charitable afterthought.
And the third key player is the commercial co-investor. This could be a big tech company, a manufacturer, anyone with a stake in the outcome. Their job is to put up the initial capital to fund the proof of completion. Basically, to bootstrap the first project and prove that this whole circuit actually works.
And the return for them? It's huge. They're not just buying some abstract sustainability credit. They're funding their own efficiency, meeting their legal obligations way more effectively. Suddenly, their compliance costs, which were just liabilities, are transformed into valuable assets. They get co-ownership in new infrastructure and see a kind of geometric return on their investment. It's a game changer.
So, we've met the three key players, but let's talk about the money. How does it actually work? How is value created and shared in a way that's fair and keeps the whole thing going? This is where the idea of closing a circuit comes in. The whole process is laid out in 4 really clear steps. It starts with a pretty small investment from the anchor utility just to map out the potential. Let's say they discover $1 billion in value they can unlock. Then, the co-investors put in just 1% of that, say $10 million, to prove it can be done. Once the circuit closes, the vast majority of that $1 billion flows right back to the participants, and a tiny fee is used to sustain the system for the next cycle.
And this right here, this might be the most critical part of the whole financial model. It's the 98-2 split. In a $1 billion completion, a staggering 98% of the value goes directly to something called the regenerative entity, or RE. And that RE is the new collaborative company that the anchor, the community, and the co-investor all co-own together. The protocol itself only keeps 2%.
Let's be crystal clear about this. That $980 million is the value that the collaborators unlock together. It flows directly to that regenerative entity that they all own. This is not revenue for the people who created the architecture.
So what about the other 2%, that $20 million? Well, that's not profit either. Think of it as the fuel that keeps the entire system running. It validates the process and funds the expansion to help the next utility and the next community start their own completion circuit. It's the metabolic energy for the whole system to grow.
Okay, let's zoom out. We've seen the pieces of the puzzle and how the money flows. But what is the grand vision here? Why is this architecture not just a good idea, but, as its creators argue, something that's basically inevitable?
The argument for why this has to happen rests on three big pressures. First, the geometric imperative. Our problems are growing exponentially, but our tools are linear. They just can't keep up. Second, the temporal imperative. The deadlines for climate action and the explosion in data demands are all hitting us right now. And finally, the sovereignty imperative. These big, trusted institutions are just not going to give up their control to some centralized tech platform. It's not going to happen.
So what we're really looking at is a fundamental shift in how we do things. We're moving away from linear, one-at-a-time tools and toward geometric potential. We're moving away from centralized platforms that pull value out and toward a distributed layer that enables completion. It's about solving problems all at once, not one by one.
And this brings us to the final, really powerful idea. The message here isn't, hey, buy our product. It's a total shift in perspective. It's about revealing and giving back the potential that's already there, that's just been locked away because everyone was stuck in their own silo.
So we're left with this really provocative thought. The framework is designed, the key players, the stewards are in place, and the need is more urgent than ever. The system is basically ready to complete itself. The only thing missing is the first anchor to step up and start weaving. So the question is no longer if this will happen, but who will do it first and when.